Are you looking to keep track of your physical activity in the new year to ensure that you crush your resolutions? ZDNet's Matt Miller has been testing out the Moto Watch 100, and it'll do just that. Matt, go ahead and just tell us a little bit about this device.
Yeah, so this, I subscribe to the Motorola, I guess, news. So I got this email out of the blue and it said Moto Watch 100, 99.99. I was like, how can that be? I started using Moto Watches, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. And I saw this one, it says $100. And I'm like, okay, I've got to pick it up because what is in this $100, right? So there was two options. There's Glacial Silver and Phantom Black. I have the silver one here. It has aluminum frame, that pretty rugged type of hard plastic on the back, and the band is a fairly nice, substantial silicon band. It's 20 millimeters. It has the quick release straps and all of that. As you can see, it does have a color display. It's a 1.3-inch color. It's an LCD, so not super vibrant colors or things like that, but it is a color display. Comes in one size, 42 millimeters. The whole thing with the strap only weighs 46 grams, just under 46 grams. So it's fairly light. And it has a lot on paper, it has a lot, right? It has GPS, it has heart rate tracking, has 5 atmospheres of water resistance. 2-week battery life is what it's advertised with 26 sport modes. And, we've talked about this in previous videos, things. It runs the RTOS, the real-time operating system. So it's Motorola's own version of an operating system. It's not Google Wear. It's not Samsung Tizen. It's Google or Motorola's own little interface, right? And the nice thing about those that I've talked about before is those real-time operating system lets you have a watch that'll last a long time, right? And it says about 2 weeks of battery, which is probably pretty accurate to what I've been seeing. And overall, it's a pretty nice watch. It has all the basic functions, heart rate, sleep tracking, blood oxygen measurements, activities, steps, all that kind of stuff. It's a smartphone app called Moto Watch. That's where things kind of fall down. It's buggy, right? There's simple things, right? You enter your profile, your age and your height and your weight and all that. And then the next time you open up the app, all that is gone. And it's just kind of random things that need to be fixed. And it's not necessarily terrible things, but there's bugs throughout that are bothersome to me. Another limitation for me personally, there's no third-party connectivity. So you wear the watch, it syncs to the Moto Watch smart app, but all that data that is collected lives in that Moto smartwatch smartphone app. There's no Apple Health, there's no Google Fit, there's no Strava. Services where you kind of like, if you're a data person like me, you like to capture that and archive that and then run reports on it, right? Because you're trying to look for trends over time. This all lives in the smartphone app. And the smartphone app's not bad. It's not terrible. It has some nice color arts. And that's something that can be fixed and improved over time with releases. Kind of speaking of releases, since I've had this about 2 weeks now, there's actually been 2 firmware updates for the watch itself. The very first time I set it up, it took some time to get paired. It wouldn't pair with my Z Fold 3. It would pair with a OnePlus 9 Pro. But 2 firmware updates later, I am seeing more stability. So they're actively working to improve it, which is a great thing for something that's $100, right? We tried the OnePlus watch a few months ago, and I sent that one back. That one wasn't seeing updates and was having some problems. So the potential's there for it to continue to get better, and that's good. One thing that kind of bugs me is, as you touch the display, it is a bit laggy. You go to the user interface, you try to scroll through things. It's not as fast and responsive as other watches I've had. However, those other watches are $300, $400, $500. So for $100, it's really not a bad deal. And it's probably something, if you're a first time person that's interested in a fitness watch or something like that, right? Also, I'll kind of speak to that. It's really much more of a health and wellness type of device more than a smartwatch, right? There's no third-party apps. There's very limited functionality with your phone and things like that. It has some of the basics, right? It connects and it syncs up and does some of that, but it is pretty limited. There is no, you know, texting and calling and stuff like that from the watch itself. But again, you always have to go back. It's $100.
Yeah, it's $100. And like you started to touch on, I guess my question for you is the $100 worth paying towards a smartwatch or an entry level health and fitness watch, or would you go somewhere else? I mean, it's $100. That's a really nice financial starting point.
Yeah, it's it's a good question because I think for a lot of people that are just interested, hey, I'd like to try one of these things out. It's probably fine for that. However, there are some pretty compelling options from like Fitbit, for example. And the thing with a Fitbit is it has a whole ecosystem, and you can use that data for a little bit more than you can with this, right? I think if they added something like a simple toggle to sync to Google Fit or Strava or Apple Health, I think that might help a little bit with it. It's not something that I'm going to keep around, but for a first time, maybe a kid that's looking for a watch to get started with on tracking, and maybe some parents don't want all that external connectivity. They want the data to just live in that Moto Watch app. Well, then that's a good solution for that, right? So, not a bad option. It's interesting, It's been interesting to see Moto get back into it. So
yeah, and who knows what their future plans are. And like we've said throughout this entire thing, it's $100. So if you are brand new to this and you're wanting to just start to dabble into the data, this might be the way for you to get started.
yeah, and for $100, you would think. I mean, if it was a total piece of crap for $100, I'd come out and say that. It's not. So it's I mean, you think of $100 and you're like, oh, you turn it on and it just resets all the time, or you can't use the touch screen or anything. It has none of those problems. I mean, it's not bad.
For $100, not a total piece of crap, something you won't regret. I think it's worth it. I'm going to chalk it up as a win. Matt Miller, thank you so much for testing this out. As always, to make things really easy on you, we have links to Matt's review and the device right down below. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you think about this device, if you plan on getting it, or if you just plan on skipping it this go around. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to stick with ZDNet for all things tech. Thank you.